This is the November 6th meeting of the Harwich Planning Board. My name is Duncan Berry. I'm the chair of this board. According to Mass General Law, we're supposed to be informed if anybody intends to record this meeting. Is anybody going to be recording? No? Very good. I would like to ask you to join me to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We have a slight alteration in the sequencing of the hearings and public meetings this evening. We're going to start off with PB 2025-35, the last item on the agenda. Owners Richard and Laura Bernard and Rita M. Farrow. Rita M. Farrow Revocable Trust through their agent Susan Ledoux, Eastwood Company, seek an approval not required A&R plan titled Division Plan Lots 4 and 5, Caldwell Lane, Harwich, Mass, prepared for Eastwood Companies by Clark Engineering, David T. Poole, PLS, license number 32662, to move property line between 25 and 30 Caldwell Lane, Assessor's Map 98, Parcel A5-4 and A5-5. There are two existing lots, and the A&R will create 4 lots. 2 newly created lots are non-buildable and will merge with new property line. Property is located in the Residential Rural Estate Zoning District and the DEP Zone 2 Water Overlay District. Ms. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant or the planning board received additional case law material. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The planning board had asked the applicant if we could have an extension to November 18th to review the A&R materials that we received.
I'd like to entertain a motion to continue the case PB 2025-35 no earlier than November 18th, no earlier than 6:30, please.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. I so declare it. We now move on to court to case number PB 21-12, Christopher Wise, as applicant, seeks endorsement of an approval not required plan for 5 lots, 4 buildable lots, numbers 1 through 4, and 1 unbuildable lot, number 5, that does not meet required frontage, as set forth in Mass General Law, Chapter 4181P. The plan is entitled Division of Land Prepared for Paul O'Connell, trustee, as identified as Assessor's Maps 106, Parcel G7-3, and Map 97. No parcel designation, Hall's Path. Parcels are located primarily in the residential rural estate. Small portion is in the commercial highway -2 zone and is in the DEP's Zone 2 Water Overlay District. Again, Ms. Flynn?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In your packet is the A&R court-ordered remand for PB 2021-12. The applicant, Christopher Wise, seeks endorsement of approval not required for 5 lots, 4 buildable lots, lots 1 to 4, and 1 unbuildable lot, Lot 5, that does not meet the required frontage as set forth in Mass General Law 4181P. We've evaluated the A&R, and my recommendation is to endorse the A&R in the packets.
Very good. Do we have any questions from the board?
Town council and staff have, as well as the planning board and the select board, have evaluated the site and the A&R on the court-ordered remand.
Was there any other concerns raised by town council with this matter?
No.
No. Any questions?
Ready?
Yep.
I would move that the planning board endorse the approval not required plan, which, Christine, if I'm correct, is this one.
Yes.
Right.
The approval not required plan entitled Project Paul O'Connell, trustee, for Halls Path in Harwich, Mass. Sheet title is Division of Land. Scale 1 inch equals 40 feet. Date 6/10/21. Sheet number C1.1.1, and signed by John McElway, professional land surveyor, dated 6/10/2021.
Have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now move on to item number 3, which is a continued public hearing from October 28th, 2025, PB 2025-29, Tigger Realties Trust, Kenneth E. Eubanks, trustee through its agent BCS Group Incorporated, Brian G. Yergation, PE, seeks special permit for site plan review with waivers. Proposed project is to remove any existing concrete pavement and structures in order to develop a new one-story steel building totaling 8,877 square feet with 25 parking spaces on the site. Application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Section 325-51 and 325-55, and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9. Property is located at 237 Queen Anne Road, Assessors Map 58, Parcel N4-2-0, and is approximately 1.82 acres. The parcel is in the Industrial Limited IL zoning district. Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to see you again.
You as well. My name is Brian Yergation. I'm a professional engineer with BSC Group, and I am here on behalf of Tigger Realty Trust, and we are seeking site plan special permit approval with waivers for the property at the proposal at 237 Queen Anne Road. Some of you, or all of you, may recall we were before you with a very similar looking site plan 6-7 months ago.
Right.
And I can just briefly explain, essentially, when this project was originally conceived, the owner got some pricing for it, for the building. And since that time, it's gone on quite a bit. Prices are now, wasn't economically viable to pursue the project as it was originally approved. So we came back to you, and I can just kind of briefly describe some of the changes, but it's a prefab metal building, and we've added another bay. And that's essentially, so we've elongated the building by about 27 feet. So that's going to help him to make this a more viable project. Accordingly, we've increased our septic design flow from 750 to 900 gallons per day. And then we've also made some other stormwater improvements that just made a little bit bigger of a room, of a yard, contractor yard in the back of the property by some of the improvements that we made. It was allowed us to shrink the big basin that we had in the back. And we've also removed some of the fencing that we had. But the biggest change is really that we're seeking 2 different waivers right now. We're seeking waivers from under 325, Section 43 for, I'll just go them both, subsection B, parking areas containing more than 5 spaces shall include or be bordered within 5 feet by at least 1 tree of 3-inch caliber measured 6 inches off the ground for every 5 spaces. So there exists a pretty significant vegetative border between the properties of 231 and 237, both of which are owned and operated by my client, by the owner. And most of the trees that exist within that border are actually on our property on 237 Queen Anne Road. And it's making it very difficult to save them, but I don't know if you can advance to.
So that's the property in question right there, and the existing vegetation at 237 outlined in yellow.
Yep, thank you. So there are some trees, and if you can advance to the, perfect. There are some trees which we've actually located. They were flagged and located that we're going to save, and we're going to do our best to save even more of those trees, but those were the ones that we were absolutely, able to save. And in addition to that, in the front of the property, we now have a large bioretention area that's proposed, And what we'd like to do, similarly there, we flagged some of the major, the bigger trees that exist out there and that are healthy, and we'd like to selectively clear that. And by that, what we mean is there's a lot of undergrowth, a lot of like pucker brush, and quite frankly, it's kind of a nuisance because there's trash, unfortunately. People throw trash out the windows these days, if you can believe it. And it makes it very difficult when you're trying to pick it up and keep that area clean. So a little selective clearing, I think, would be called for. It wouldn't, it would still provide a very large treed buffer. And frankly, when you drive down, up and down the road, if you look at some of the other properties there, this is going to have more trees than, I could list them, but I won't unless you ask me to, many of those properties. So it's definitely in keeping with the, I think it's an enhancement to the character of the neighborhood, which it is the limited industrial district. And the second one is subsection C, from which we're also seeking a waiver, and that's for at least 10% of the interior area of the parking area containing 20 or more spaces shall consist of landscaped islands. We actually have 3 different parking areas on site. We have 14. Then we have 2 sections of paved parking, 14 in the front and then 11 towards the rear. And in between them, we have a gravel area that you can see there with the, looks like a darker gray hatching. And that we'll have some concrete wheel stops in there, and that's going to provide up to another 8 spaces if needed. So there's 25 spaces that are on hardscape, on paved, which is what is required based on the use that we're proposing. So there's an additional, 8 spaces as well. So I guess I'd really just leave it there. I mean, we have gone through an extensive peer review with VHB. We have satisfied all of their questions and concerns. And like I said, this was largely very similar to the project that you approved back then, just with some changes really necessitated out of the rising cost of materials. Thank you. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Yugation. Christine?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The project is located at 237 Queen Anne Road in the Industrial Limited Zoning District, map and parcel 58 and 4-2. The proposed project is to remove the existing concrete small sheds as well as some of the structures, to replace that with the 1-story steel building totaling 8,877 square feet with 6 contractor bays. There will be 25 parking spaces, including 2 handicap parking spaces. The surrounding uses, the proposed project is surrounded by other industrial businesses as well as open space. It was noted that Mr. Eubanks also owns the property next door at 231 Queen Anne Road. The lot area is 1.82 acres, and there are 2 waiver requests. And VHB did do an extensive stormwater management. The project does meet the proper zoning requirements, setbacks, height restrictions, and building coverage. The 2 primary differences from the last previous site plan review is just the size of the building. They're literally just elongating the building, an increase of parking spaces, as well as just the modifications to the landscaping and the stormwater management. So with that, if the board has any questions.
Does the board have any questions?
So Christine, have they, through you, Mr. Chair, is the stormwater report and plan completed at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
And Steve Rhodes is also on participating remotely if there are any questions.
Okay, so that's just an update from our staff report, so that's
Correct.
what I wanted to follow up on. And at this point, is this an amendment to the prior site plan versus a brand-new one?
Town council has opined that site plan review, that because it's not recognized in Mass General law, this is considered a new permit.
Okay.
But we can still reference the old decision as well.
I have a quick question. Is the building, was the building moved forward and extended backward, or just simply a bay added at the, I guess that would be the southern end?
Correct. The bay was added at the southern end,
Okay.
and it was kept, and the front end was kept where it was.
Okay, right. Any other questions? No other questions? Maybe this might be the time to close the public meeting?
We have
Unless
asked
there-
the public.
Oh, yes. Any questions from the public or online? Hearing none? I guess we can now move.
So I move that we close the public hearing.
Have a motion, have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
So at this point, I would move that the planning board adopt the following findings of fact. One, the applicant's agent is Brian E. Gershon, BSC Group, Inc. The property is owned by Kenneth Eubanks, trustee, Trigger Realty Trust, 349 Route 28, Unit D, West Yarmouth. Three, the subject property is 237 Queen Anne Road, map 58, parcel N4-2-0, in the Industrial Limited IL zoning district. 4, the proposed project is to construct a new commercial pre-engineered steel building of 8,877 square feet with 25 new parking spaces, screened dumpster, as indicated on the revised site plan dated August 22nd, 2025. 5, some of the existing trees along Queen Anne Road and the east and west boundary of the property shall not be clear-cut. The vegetation will be cleared for a bioretention area as shown on the site plan. The applicant will plant 5 autumn flame red maple trees to shade the parking lot. 6, the application for a site plan review special permit was filed on September 5th, 2025 with the town clerk. 7, subject to the conditions of approval, any potential conditions of approval, the application and site plan do conform to section 325-55 and 325-51 of the Harwich Code. 8, the planning board held a public hearing on September 23rd, 2025, which was continued to
October 28th.
October 28th, 2025, and a final public hearing on November 6th, 2025. 9, in addition, the board finds that the proposed modifications will not adversely affect the residential neighborhood. The specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition as the lot is large enough to accommodate the proposed uses. There will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, and adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. This includes the provision of appropriate sewage treatment facilities which provide denitrification when the permit granting authority deems the facility is necessary for the protection of drinking water, supply wells, ponds, or saltwater embayments, appropriate screening, and internal circulation.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Actually, Mr. Chair, if we
yep.
can make one modification, if we could strike number 5 regarding the maple trees. And that there will be no clear cutting. I think they are preserving several of the pre-selected mature trees.
Okay, so I would modify my motion to remove stated recommended finding 5, and the condition relative to no clear cutting.
With the amended motion, may I have a second?
Second.
It did, I don't think it did, but it will be on the site plan.
Any discussion?
Any discussion? Let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very.
I would move at this time that the planning board approve the two requested waivers pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Sections 325-43B and Section 325-43C.
We have that motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And in accordance with the foregoing recommended, or the foregoing findings of fact and approved waivers, I would move that the planning board approve the site plan review special permit, subject to the following conditions. One, the proposed project shall be in accordance with the site plan and revised site plan dated August 22nd, 2025, and stamped by the town clerk on September 5th, 2025, referenced in the application materials listed prior. Two, the proposed project will not adversely impact traffic and safety. The proposed project is compatible with the surrounding land uses within the industrial limited zone. Three, the proposed project is to remove existing concrete and shed structures to construct a new commercial pre-engineered steel building, 8,877 square feet, with a total of 25 parking spots, including 2 handicap spaces. 4, the proposed dumpster shall be screened by a fence as shown on the revised site plan. 5, some of the existing trees along, one clarification, do we still need the condition? Or no? We do still need this condition.
Just the pre-selected trees
Okay, so-
will be preserved.
So 5, some of the existing trees along Queen Anne Road, particularly to the northeast side of the property, shall not be clear-cut. The vegetation shall be cleared for a bioretention area as shown on the revised site plan. 6, that fencing surrounding the property be added to the revised site plan. 7, that all materials, heavy equipment, and heavy trucks shall be stored indoors. 8, any new signage shall comply with the code of the town of Harwich, zoning section 325, sections 25 through 28. 9, all exterior lighting shall be dark sky compliant. Any additional exterior or parking lot lighting shall also be dark sky compliant. 10, the applicant has submitted a stormwater and drainage plan, which has been approved by the town engineers. 11, the applicant shall submit architectural renderings and floor plans prior to the issuance of a building permit. 12, there shall be no storage of hazardous materials on site. 13, the septic system shall be reviewed and approved by the Board of Health. 14, this decision shall run with the property. Conditions of approval shall be binding on all future owners. 15, this special permit shall not take effect until a copy of the decision bearing the certification of the town clerk that 20 days have elapsed after the filing of the decision, and either that no appeal has been filed or that an appeal has been filed within such time period, is recorded in the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds and indexed under the name of the property owner of record and the parcel address. 16, the special permit shall lapse within 2 years, which shall not include such time required to pursue or await the determination of an appeal referred to in General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 17, from the grant thereof, if a substantial use thereof has not sooner commenced except for good cause, or in the case of a permit for construction, if construction has not begun by such date except for good cause. 17, changes to the site not authorized under this decision shall require further planning board review and modification to this decision. 18, the applicant shall conform to the inspection, certification, and as-built plan requirements outlined pursuant to the code of the town of Harwich.
19.
And further, any provisions of this site plan review special permit case PB 2024-34 not modified herein shall remain in full force and effect.
We have a motion on the table.
So moved.
We have a second? We have a second. Any further discussion on the board? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Mr. Yurgation. We now move to the final item of the agenda this evening, which is public hearing case number PB 2025-28. Ann Brensley, owner, authorizes Dan Mento Corporation, through its agent Jack Herndon, counsel, Senni and Associates, PC, seeks special permits for multifamily special permit and site plan review special permit. The proposed project is to develop a condominium building with 6 two-bedroom townhouses each, with a garage, and with a total of 16 off-street parking spaces. Vehicular access will be via Cork Lane. 1 unit will be dedicated to year-round workforce housing. The project also proposes to demolish and remove 6 existing structures, 2 barns and 4 sheds on the site. The existing single-family dwelling shall remain. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Sections 325-51Q, 325-51, and 325-55, and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 9 and 11. Property is located at 64 Smith Street, Assessors Map 19, parcel B1-0, and is 133,681 square feet, with 48,681 square feet of upland. The parcel is located in the Rural Residential RR and zoning district in the FEMA flood zone AE. So,
Good evening, members of the board and public. For the record, my name is Jack Herndon. I'm an attorney with Senning Associates in Brewster, and I'm here this evening on behalf of the applicant and prospective buyer of 64 Smith Street, Mento Corporation, for, as you said, multifamily and site plan review special permits. To begin, the applicant is Mento Corporation. Pat Burke from Mento Corp is here this evening. They are a small family-run development group just across the bridge, mostly developing single-family and small multifamily developments in southeast area of Massachusetts. In the last few years, they've done about a dozen projects on the Cape. So, you know, they're certainly familiar with the area, done business here recently. So the subject property is 64 Smith Street. As you mentioned, it has 133,681 square feet. Sorry? Speak up. Can everyone hear
no,
me?
this is, I think is the mic on?
Is this better?
Yeah, that's a little better.
If
Maybe
anyone
I'll-
has issues, just, I don't project my voice. So.
Why don't you just move the mic a little bit closer? To the truck.
So as I mentioned, as 133,000 square feet and 48,681 of which are buildable upland. This is in the Res Rural Estate District. One note I did want to mention, I saw some of the abutters' comments. There were concerns about this possibly being spot zoning or some confusion about how this project came to be and kind of what is the permitting framework here. So in the Harwich zoning bylaw, they have tables for use, bulk, and height and area. And in 2020, when Harwich introduced the multifamily housing bylaw for development by special permit, they allowed multifamily dwelling units by special permit in any district that has residential development or is approved for residential development. And at the bottom of the chart, there is a separate section for multifamily use, and so it has its own height, bulk, area regulations. So I know there were some comments about that. I just wanted to clear that up. So while it is in the Res Rural Estate District, it is allowed under the bylaw. So on the site, there is an existing single-family dwelling, which is just off of Smith Street, and there are 2 barns and 4 sheds. As you mentioned, those barns and sheds will be removed. The existing single-family dwelling will remain, and there will be some future plans for the dwelling. We would like to keep it and either parcel it off as a single-family house or incorporate it into the condo association. But it is the intent of the developer to keep the house as is. The project is in West Harwich, just north of Main Street and west of the Herring River. The road is within the 100-foot buffer zone, so that will require Conservation Commission review. And we will need to go to Board of Health for the septic system as well. So the proposed plan is 6 2-bedroom townhouse units, each with a single-car garage and an extra parking space outside of the garage. And then there will be 4 extra guest spots at the end of Cork Lane. The project conforms in all aspects with the dimensional, height, bulk, setback requirements in the zoning bylaw. But we are certainly aware and mindful of the fact that This is in a community with lots of single-family homes, and we would like to mitigate as much as possible to make sure that this fits in to the neighborhood. So the first,
Please, no comments yet.
so the first thing that we've done is consider the building location. We've tried to locate the building as far back from Smith Street as possible, while still being mindful of the wetlands that are behind the property. With the 25-foot setback, you could have a situation where a developer comes in, knocks down the existing building, and puts up a development very close to Smith Street. But we've really tried as hard as we can to put it as far back from the road as possible. Believe it or not, this is actually modest in size in comparison to what is allowed under the bylaw and what is being built across Harwich. The site coverage is 25% of the buildable upland, when the bylaw allows for 80%. So, a developer could put a substantially larger housing development on this lot, but a six-unit development, it kind of fits better, and it's a way that we're kind of self-regulating from trying to maximize what is allowed. We're not asking for any waivers to fit in more parking. This is not a situation where the developer is trying to maximize what is allowed. Compared to what the bylaw does allow for, and what other developers are asking for, this is, in my opinion, pretty reasonable. We are also offering to screen the property with new vegetation. Christine, do you have photos?
I'm sorry?
Sure.
Photos
Of the 3D models with the vegetation?
I don't have the 3D models of the vegetation up on the PowerPoint. I have the building and
Okay.
the site plan as part of my PowerPoint.
Yeah, I do have a few extra copies if anyone in the audience wants them. Paralegal Emma has 3 copies. It might not be enough for everyone, but maybe we could spread them out if anyone wants to take a look. So, with construction, some trees will have to come down, and we do want to be mindful that we're not leaving the site bare. So what we're proposing is putting in new trees in between Cork Lane and 64 Smith Street. This is to screen from people walking or driving on Smith Street, as well as the abutter across the street from Cork Lane. And then in the back of the property, the abutter to the east, we're offering to mitigate with more plantings, arborvitae trees or something similar, to kind of fill out the backyard area so that the neighbor isn't having to look at this, at the housing units. And then, as I mentioned, we are...
Excuse me, please, no comments while we're getting the presentation, okay? It's a distraction. The acoustics in here are not good. Thank you. Please continue.
As I mentioned, we would like to keep the single-family dwelling that is existing on the site. We think that this will also help screen from Smith Street. Instead of looking at a new development where the existing house is, it would just be the house kind of blocking from view of the development. And we're also, in speaking with the town planner, we'll ensure that there are no short-term rentals in any of the units. I know that there are definitely some concerns about policing short-term rentals. In order to have a short-term rental, you do need to get a license from the town or the state. Any condo unit owner who's trying to get that certificate would not be able to, because of the deed restriction would prevent them from doing that. And if they're applying for Airbnb or Vrbo or something similar, that would get flagged as well. If you ever run into a situation where a condo unit owner is kind of trying to skirt the rules, then the neighbors are always welcome to alert the town, and the town could fine the owner or revoke their certificate of occupancy. And then we are looking to have one of the units be deed restricted for year-round housing with local preference. I've been trying to work on this deed restriction quite a bit this week, and I've been working with the housing advocate, Brianna Powell, to figure out a deed restriction that works for the town and ensures that, you have at least one or two people who can live here who are either working at Town Hall or on Main Street or in one of the local businesses. This is a really good way to get young professionals in the area who otherwise would not be able to be living and working in Harwich. To be honest, I'm still working with Brianna Powell on the language, and I think I'd need to speak to town council about how to frame this. Originally, I wanted to restrict this to 120% AMI. AMI is the median income for the area. So this is for attainable, 120% is considered attainable housing. So it's not low-income housing, but it's not, just allowing rich people to come in and take the unit either. This is for people who otherwise would not be able to find housing in the area, who, might have a professional degree or a similar situation. So, we're still working on that, and I think, assuming this gets continued, that's something that I'd have a better answer for you next time. The reason is that I just want to be mindful that, we don't put a restriction in place that 2 years from now, a future owner hires an attorney to figure out a way around. We want to make sure that, this actually benefits the community and goes to someone who wants to live and work in Harwich. As far as a time limit, I think 30 years with the ability for the town to re-up for 10-year periods after that makes sense. And the reason for that is because the courts generally don't like to see housing restrictions that go on for longer than that, unless there is a provision in the restriction that allows whoever is, the holder of that license to extend it. So that's kind of what I have in mind right now for the deed restriction. Again, I really need to sit down with town council and Brianna Powell to kind of work this out a little bit more. But that's one of the 6 units, so that would be a 2-bedroom unit that is now available for people who are living and working in Harwich. One other note I did have, I know Christine and I spoke about this earlier, in the staff review, there was a note about the fire hydrant, not being sure where it was on the site plan. It is there. It is a tiny speck on the utilities page. It's at the end of Cork Lane on the left within the 100-foot buffer zone, and it's labeled as fire hydrant. And on the page after that, you should see there are more specifics about what the hydrant is like. And as far as the road, we still have to go to the Conservation Commission, and because all of the, or most of the road is in the 100-foot buffer, the road needs more work, and we need to figure out if it's going to be paved or unpaved. But we are open to, really anything that the board has in mind, as far as widening the road, making it safer, adding adequate lighting, ensuring that there aren't, branches that are covering where a fire truck would be. And we have provided a fire truck turnaround template as well. So I know that's a lot of information. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Ms. Flynn.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The project before you is case number PV 202528, multifamily use special permit as well as site plan review special permit. The application is being represented through their agent by Jack Hendron on behalf of Dan Mento and the Mento Corporation. As well as we did receive authorization from both the current landowners, Ms. Brensley and Ms. Virginia Hung. The property is located at 64 Smith Street, map and parcel number 19B1, the residential rural estate zoning district in the FEMA flood zone AE. The development type is a residential condominium development with 6 units. The lot area is 133,681 square feet with 48,681 square feet of upland. And at this time, the applicant did not ask for any waivers. And the project description is, the location of the project is primarily surrounded by residential uses with the Herring River to the east. And if you look, this is the site in red. At 64 Smith Street, and down to the south, you can see the First Baptist Church. This is located in West Harwich. Moving over, the property outlined in yellow is the project site for 64 Smith Street. And as you can see, there are residential uses surrounding the property, as well as the wetlands to the north and the Herring River to the east. And this is a closer look at the current conditions of the site. 64 Smith Street is with the red dot. So some of the planning questions that we've asked is that the buildings are approximately over 11,000 square feet with a net gross square footage of approximately 88,000 square feet. And so just to give a bit of a comparison, according to town assessor records, there are 28 units, 28 buildings in the town at over 10,000 square feet. So just when we talk about community character and perspective in terms of size of the building, that's just something for us to keep in mind. And I will ask the applicant if they can submit architectural renderings for a streetscape to provide a more detailed view for the board to take an assessment of existing conditions and how the building will fit into the project site. In terms of traffic, staff would recommend not doing a traffic study. However, we did feel that Smith Street is a public road. However, Cork Lane, in its current existing condition, is an unpaved road. And there is question in terms of to what extent road improvements will need to be done to not only accommodate the proposed project, but also the 2 existing homes at 62 and 64 Smith Street, who also have access to Cork Lane. So in terms of road layout, in 1985 to 1999, there have been several site plan and subdivision documents relative to this site. And in 1988, the planning board did approve the Cork Lane subdivision, which limited the road to being unpaved, and they did waive certain road construction standards. And if there are changes recommended relative to the use of the road and the number of units, we will, the board will need to determine safe and adequate access for the 6 new proposed condominium units. And we will also need to know whether or not will the road improvements include pavement or a compact surface as recommended in the town's road design guidelines. And one other option or one other consideration, the town requires a cul-de-sac at the end of the road, and I understand the applicant has proposed a fire truck turning, 3-point turning to pull in and then back out for the project, and that will be at the board's discretion to decide if that's adequate. Because sections 412C requires a cul-de-sac at the end of a dead-end road. For stormwater, drainage, and utilities, Court Lane is within the wetlands district and the Herring River watershed, and in an extremely environmentally sensitive area. And it's imperative that the board, as well as the applicant, make every effort to address those concerns. Given the density of the project, it's important that that the applicant provide information on how they're going to mitigate any impacts to nitrogen loading to the Herring River watershed, because that hasn't really, from the application information that was submitted, it's not clear in terms of will there be advanced denitrifying systems to the a new septic system. So I would expect the applicant to speak to that. It also will impact how the project will have site coverage, and depending on the road and what surface materials that you're using, if it's impervious as a gravel road or even a hard paved surface, site coverage still is defined by the town. Sorry, I lost my space. And it's the aggregate of the site, the buildings, the parking areas, as well as the driveway, regardless of the surface material. And I think VHB did a more thorough evaluation, and they're online to speak to those issues because there'll be additional triggers relative to the Wetlands Protection Act, both at the state and the local level. For parking, the applicant has addressed the parking to provide 12 parking spaces for the residential uses. The applicant is also, there'll be a total of 16 parking spaces, but 12 of the parking spaces will be by the building. And I'm sorry, I'll go through some of the landscaping. So for the site plan right here, the building will be located to the rear to the back of the building. There is the existing single family off of Smith Street right now. The wetlands you can see on the right-hand side rendering is the wetlands to the back and to the west. And if you'll notice the two green lines to the rear of the cul-de-sac, the green line to the left is the 50-foot wetland buffer, and the green line to the right is the 100-foot wetland buffer. And so we did ask for comments from town departments. The Conservation Commission will be evaluating this project. They did provide that any compact or impervious surfaces will require a certain level of mitigation, particularly if it's in the wetland, within the wetland buffers. The fire department also submitted comments relative to the unpaved road. They did have some concerns whether or not it would meet Massachusetts, some of the fire code, state fire code from, that was provided. I'm sorry, that's in your staff report. The other concern relative to the proposed turning radii, the fire department felt that was adequate. They were okay with the proposal. So the applicant did also provide lighting and landscaping, and we'll have further comments relative to that. But just to give you an idea, this is the architectural rendering that the applicant submitted. The building goes up to 39.4 inches at grade, and there are 6 buildings, garage, The garage with parking will be on the first floor, and then living space will be on the second and third floor, and then there's a very tall roof ridge that's over 11 feet tall. So that's the architectural renderings that we did submit. It would be helpful to have additional information for the board to look at. These were the floor plan layouts right here. The first floor with the garage parking. The second, this is the second floor renderings with a deck as well. And that's the second floor renderings that were submitted by the applicant. And this is the turning radii that was submitted for the fire department, that the applicant has submitted for the fire department's consideration, as well as the board's consideration, or if the board wants to require a cul-de-sac. So those are options for the board at this time. And given some of the information that we still need, Mr. Chair, I think it would be appropriate to have Steve Rhodes to provide a summary of the site plan review as well as the stormwater management recommendations.
That'd be great. Steve, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
So I will start with the stormwater review that our office provided. Right now, there's a couple items that will kind of hinge on the balance of the review. So I'm going to just cover those two big items. One is what the total area of disturbance is determined to be for the site. If this is over an acre, the applicant would be subject to requiring a local stormwater permit through the select board. And we've asked them through our peer review to provide some more information about the limit of disturbance on the plans and some more figures showing the intended limit of disturbance in the total disturbed area. So that's number one. Number two is going to be getting to some of the Mass DEP stormwater standards, and that'll be determined by ultimately what the material for the surface of the access driveway and the parking lot is chosen to be. If this is going to remain gravel as is currently presented, there is some conditions where that is considered impervious under Mass DEP and town stormwater regulations. And so we were asking the applicant to provide a quantitative comparison of pre and post development impervious areas in that case. If this is going to be considered to be switched to a asphalt driveway and parking area, we would want that same information and showing appropriate treatment of the stormwater runoff from those scenarios. So that's the stormwater report. There's more details that kind of cascade down from what those decisions end up being that we can get into at future discussions, I think. On the site review side, again, going back to the driveway and the parking lot materials, we're requesting some more information on the construction, what type of gravel is proposed, what depth, what layers are going to comprise the improved gravel driveway. We're also looking for what improvements are going to be made to the asphalt apron that's called out to be improved at near the intersection with Smith Street. And we would also like to consider just the overall, as Christine mentioned, safe and adequate access for this site with whatever those treatment materials are. So I can't really offer a final opinion on that until I know what those materials are going to be comprised of. Christine also mentioned the circular turnaround requirement, and this project is proposing a T-shaped turnaround. We've reviewed the Harwich Fire Department ladder truck template figure that the applicant provided, and I believe that's adequate for a turnaround space. So we don't have any major concerns with that in lieu of circular turnarounds, especially considering the impacts that the circular turnaround would impose on the site. And then lastly, for landscaping, we did review the plans that the applicant submitted, the 3D rendered plans of landscaping. What we'd like to see is where those plans were proposed exactly on the design plans. We couldn't locate the exact tree locations relative to existing and proposed utilities. And what we'd like the applicant to do is take a look at putting those proposed plants on the engineered plan and see exactly where those trees are going to end up, because they may find there's some that are conflicting with proposed utilities or existing, which may alter the final kind of presentation of what landscaping can go back in on the site. And that is all I wanted to highlight between those two reviews for now.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Nope.
So, I think we're in a situation where we have an relatively incomplete scenario here that's worthy of reconsideration when we have more information, as requested by Steve from the applicant, as requested by you, and I believe as requested by town council.
I have not spoken to town council relative.
Okay, I thought there was, all right, so fair enough. Mary?
I would still like, if we can, I'd still like to get some questions out there for the applicant for, you know,
Absolutely.
as far as other things are concerned. First of all, through you, Mr. Chair, to Christine, I'm assuming it's not a public way at this point, that it's a private unpaved way, or is it a public?
Cork Lane is a private unpaved way.
All right, so my initial concern about it remaining gravel would be snow removal. If you're talking about a year-round resident that's working, I guess I'd be, obviously would defer to police and fire and public works on that, but I don't know whether it, in a gravel state, would meet the requirements for DPW to list it on the list of roads that they would plow. And certainly, I think gravel might pose a problem for anyone doing snow removal, so that would be one question. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Steve Rhodes. Steve, I understand your point was that the three-point turn possibility was okay with the fire truck. Would you say that it's still okay if there were multiple trucks on site? I mean, I get it for one truck, but I wonder if, you know, if you have a response that has a ladder truck and a pumper truck, is that still going to be adequate for all of those vehicles to get around each other versus having a cul-de-sac? So I would just ask, when you're doing your review, if that's something you could look at.
Certainly, we can comment on that as we continue the review.
Great. Christine, could you put up the picture that has the existing sky view?
Sure. Excuse me, Matt?
The one that had your red dot with the Google Earth one. Yeah, there. So I'm just curious if you would, I'm looking at 64 Smith Street, where the existing house is where the pinpoint is. The buildings that I see in the open area directly behind it, are those the barns and the sheds
Yes.
that'll be removed? Approximately where would the new building be in relation to that current cleared section of the property? Do you know?
I would have to look at we have the setbacks on
All
the
right.
existing and proposed site plans. I know that we are 25 feet from, I think, the corner of the lot, of the buildable area.
Okay.
And so I think it's pretty similar to where the existing barns are, but I don't have the full plan in front of me.
It might be helpful for a future meeting to even just see an outlined overlay so that we could see where it is in relation to what's already cleared, just to get a sense of
Sure.
where the changes are going to be over the existing.
So putting existing and proposed over on
If you could.
on one plan, okay.
I think that might be helpful. I think that's all I have for now.
Those are great questions. Any other? Yes, Harry?
I may have missed it, but I'm looking at the plot plan, and I don't see any accommodation for overflow parking. Looks like there's one covered parking space per unit. But based on the scale that I'm looking at, it looks like there may be accommodation for an additional car outside, but you're also going to need to back out of every one of those garages or back into it. And so you'll need, it looks to me like the space that's there on the paved part in front of the garages wouldn't really accommodate much, if any, overflow parking.
I can have the engineers draw out in a little bit more detail what the parking plan will be. But as I understand it, there's the one-car garage under each dwelling, and then right outside that, there's a space, and from my conversations with them, there's enough space to turn and get out, and then we have the 4 guest spaces, but I can make sure that they provide more detail on that.
Okay, that'd be helpful. Also, the bylaws say that the planning board can approve any, I'm looking at the wrong section here, that we have the right to, and I'm trying to find the thing that I'm looking at. Basically, I'm going to have to paraphrase because I lost it in the language, that we can require conditions that would have to do with environmental concerns. And Christine mentioned that there were potential problems with the environmental, with the watershed, and I believe also with the Herring River. And it seems like I would suggest we discuss imposing a condition that they, exclusive of stormwater and exclusive of sewage treatment, that the applicant provide hopefully independent EIR, and just find out what the impact of the project would have on the adjacent environment. And I have no idea where that would lead, but it would certainly address that concern that, that there's an overall environmental impact of building this development where it's being built.
Good point. I just have one question for you, Christine, if I may. You said there are 28 buildings over 10,000 square feet in the town?
According to the assessor records, correct.
How many of those are residences?
Commercial buildings,
They're commercial?
yes.
And there are no residences of that magnitude, of that scale?
I did not see any residential buildings listed, but I can double check that.
Okay.
I just did a quick search for it,
Right, a limited search, okay.
just to give some perspective of other types of development within town.
So,
Public?
do we want to hear from the public, or do you think that, I'm curious as to whether or not with the kind of insufficient material that we have available now, whether it would be, with changes forthcoming at a future meeting, would this be amenable to the board, or?
Well, please let us speak, please.
It's up to you. I mean, you're the chair. I think they're here and it's a public
Can
hearing.
I add, it would be helpful as the applicant to
Okay.
hear what the neighbors have to say.
Great, all right, terrific. Then let's, I'd invite everybody to please, whoever wishes to speak, to come to the podium. Do we have a sign-in sheet? Sign-in sheet,
We have a sign-in sheet over there.
Please sign in, and give your name and your address, and we're eager to hear from you. And I also want to start off by saying thank you for everybody who came out tonight. This is great. Nice to see civic participation.
I've already signed
Right.
in.
More than one.
Well,
Speak?
yeah, I think the people that are actually here, though.
I got it. I don't want to run into.
And Christine, I'm reminded that we had a couple of emails with regard to letters that were being sent in that wanted to be requested to be read in from people that are absent from the meeting. Can we handle that at the end of this?
Yes, we can handle that at the end.
Because I think there was some question about something not appearing in full. I don't know. We'll deal with that as it comes
Okay.
up, though. Great. Okay, thank you. Appreciate your patience here.
Hi, my name is Katie Grenier. I'm 62 Smith Street. I'm on the other side of Cork Lane. I've lived here for 31 years, 5 years as a renter, 26 years as an owner. I purchased the property from Robert Crimmins. He was one of the ones that took and made 2 lots into one, knowing that the back lot was wetlands and that it would be more it would look better for a farmer to have 1 lot, because he was the farmer. Him and his wife raised beautiful show horses. I stand here in opposition to the proposed project at 64 Smith Street. This project is located within 50 and 100-foot wetlands buffer zone and is designated as being in FEMA Zone AE and also designated as a special flood hazard area and is high risk for flood zone. The Harwich zoning bylaw, section 3251Q, allowing multifamily special permit, has no intent statement. Other zoning bylaws in the town have like maybe in parentheses or whatever that states this bylaw has the intent of this. 51Q does not. It doesn't have an intent statement. How are we supposed to know what the intent of the multifamily bylaw is? Do I think it's great in some sense? Absolutely. Do I think it stinks in this sense? Yes. I feel the project doesn't fulfill the criteria of the Harwich zoning bylaw, chapter 325, section 51A, section 1, conditions A through D. The project will adversely affect the neighborhood, and the specific site is not appropriate location for the proposed use and structure. The project fails to meet the criteria required under section 32551, A and B of the bylaws. One of the shortcomings is its incompatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. The scale, 28 feet by 132 feet long, 40 feet high, 3,696 square foot on the ground. It's massive, and appearance of the project are inconsistent with the established character of the neighborhood. An observation of the surrounding houses show none over 30 feet high, and most are around 20 feet high at the most. I'm not really sure, I'm not good at the height thing. Single-family modest, single or 2-story homes are in this neighborhood. That's the norm. The project currently proposed disrupts the neighborhood character, compromises residents' privacy. Just think of having 12 sets of eyes peering down in your backyard, or in the case of Marie and Paul Norton, their front yard. There is no screening, planting, or fences that could shield this project from the Nortons or from us or from Smith Street. You can't make a tree big enough. The location is not an appropriate location for a 6-unit townhome due to the sensitive nature of this property. There should be no filling of the grade, depositing of material in the flood zone as to raise the elevation of the land should not be allowed. Having to add feet worth of dirt to make this work doesn't make this work. It'll cause runoff from the property that will adversely affect both 62 and 68 Smith Street. And the drainage flow of Cork Lane. Cork Lane is within the 100-foot buffer zone of the wetlands. And if you look at the street or if you walk the street, Smith Street meets at Cork Lane. All of the water runoff from Smith Street goes down Cork Lane. And it has for years. Section C and D of the bylaw deals with nuisance to vehicles, pedestrians, appropriate facilities to the proper operation of the proposed use. As you all probably know, Smith Street, Bell's Neck, North Road, collectively called the Loop, is probably the most walked neighborhood in Harwich. Smith is a narrow, extremely well-traveled road. Bell's Neck Road is partially paved, partially not paved, pretty busy road in and of itself, walkers, bikers, etc. Increased congestion will add nuisance and hazard to pedestrians. We have already in the past few years had 2 accidents on Smith and Bell's Neck. Increased traffic on Route 28 has also led to more cut-through drivers on Smith Street. I believe that a traffic study wouldn't hurt. Appropriate facilities for the proper operation of the proposed use to include the provision of an appropriate sewage treatment facility on this property, I think, is necessary. I feel the system is too large. The height of the system will be out of character with other systems in the area. The lack of a buffer between the system and the groundwater is very troublesome. Any system that is proposed at this site should be a system of higher safeguards. An IA system should be the only system considered. No nitrogen added to the groundwater, or as little as possible. Section 3251B of the bylaw authorizes the planning board to impose, I'm not going there. On the town peer review, there are a couple things that I have questions about. No waiver. There is a waiver requested on the proposed multifamily site plan stormwater review. Compliance with the stormwater management standard. Standard 2, waiver requested regarding peak attenuation rate. Notwithstanding the paragraph calls into play that it's going into Buzzards Bay. Not really near here, but I don't think any waiver should be granted. Either this project fits or it doesn't. This property, as I have said before, is a very sensitive area. Adequate parking, I thought parking spots front to back, like the parking spots underground or in the garage, wasn't counted. I thought only outside parking was counted. I only count actual 6 spaces. Where are the others, if there are any of them? I do have pictures that I wanted to distribute, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask that the aerial view be put up so you can.
I don't think they can do it. I didn't send it over, but pictures number 1, 2, and 3 are a bunch of balloons that were raised up to 39 feet. We're not professionals, we tried hard. Please note the height of the red balloons. Now imagine the balloons being 120 feet long above all 3 houses that are in these pictures. They will be seen by anyone who drives down Smith Street, lives 3 houses down, lives on North Road. This building is that massive. And I know what it says on paper regarding the wetlands, but the actual reality is different. The back of all the properties on north side of Smith Street flood on any good high tide. All of our basements flood, etc. As we all have heard and witnessed, tide waters, ocean waters are rising. There is a small branch river of the Herring River going under North Road behind 68 Smith Street. On many high tides, this river floods the property directly on the east side of this project. Nobody's done a wetlands, anything on the east side of this project. Yes, east side. Pictures number 4 and 5. 4 is an overhead picture that we've seen here of the proposed location with a circle around the shed shown in picture 5. This is flooding that happens quite frequently at this location depicted on the picture. Paper wetlands don't always tell the whole story. This is tidal flooding via the Herring River. We feel the presented project has not fulfilled the criteria to issue a special permit due to our concerns and the concerns of the neighbors here tonight. We feel you must deny this special permit due to it being more detrimental to the neighborhood. Thank you for your time, and you guys, thank you for your service. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Grenier.
Good evening, Barbara Nickerson, Route 28, Harwich Port. No, I'm not part of this neighborhood, but I do want to thank my West Harwich neighbors for showing up at Sunday school meeting last week. That's why we're here to support you this week also. Because this is not my neighborhood, but it's my town. It's our town. And don't you think it's about time we have something to say about what we want and don't want in our neighborhoods? Maybe we need to revise that multifamily bylaw.
Yeah.
Get a citizen's petition going. So a couple comments, and some of them are going to be a little, not well, little, I want to say, well, a little testy. First off, sorry, Jack, but I don't consider Braintree across the bridge. That's way up there. And I don't consider Wayland, where the wannabe lieutenant governor lives, across the bridge either. The stormwater enters the Herring River, not into Buzzards Bay, as was already pointed out. So if that's not right, what else is not right in that engineering report, guys? I mean, am I supposed to do all the calculations myself to make sure that they're done correctly? We're in FEMA Zone AE. What are we thinking? How many times, 2022, what, 2 foot of water at North Street and Smith Street? Come on. You just heard that the high tide brings it in, let alone with the king tide, a good full moon, and some good coastal storm. And then if you read in the Chronicle back then, our town management said, well, maybe you should leave the area when we're going to get a good coastal storm. Leave your house. Really? So we want to go put 6 townhouses in there, exacerbating the situation? More impervious surface? They're probably going to want to raise it up because otherwise their precious little cars are going to get stuck in the water in the garages on the first floor. Don't understand. This is not a redevelopment project. I don't care what it says in the report, in the application. This is not a redevelopment project. You don't redevelop farmland into this. This is not what is in the comprehensive plan. This is not what a redevelopment project. Not at all in keeping with the character of West Harwich either. You're in a single-family neighborhood, an older single-family residential neighborhood. Come in with almost 40-foot high townhouses. I don't get that at all. And to say that the proposed project does not discharge any critical areas, I thought the Herring River, wetlands, Bell's Neck, all of that was kind of critical. The herring go up there to spawn every spring. We have a nitrogen issue as it is. We're trying to do something about that. We consider it critical. Right now, you have an unattractive box. Doesn't belong on the Cape, doesn't belong in this neighborhood in West Harwich. You want to keep it in Braintree or Wayland, be my guest. So, thank you for your time, appreciate it, and we're here to fight.
Thank you, Mrs. Nicholson.
Anne Marie Russell. I live at 12 Smith Street, West Harwich, and Osmond's predecessor, way back, Osmond Berry lived in our house at one point. We bought our house.
I was born in that house,
Yes.
your house.
We bought our house in 1968. I've been able to get it back to 1815, but our tax bill says 1765 because I think it was built on Samuel's land. And Amos Smith, who lived in our house, is buried in the private cemetery that's out on Bell's Neck Road. I'm not here to talk about bylaws, and I'm here to talk from the heart. The word development just sticks in my craw when it comes to Smith Street. There are a lot of antique homes that have a lot of history on the street. The rest of the houses that are there, there are small ranches, there are some capes. It's not a pretentious neighborhood at all, and it's a walkable neighborhood. I'm out on my corner working all the time, weeding, doing my little garden, and I talk to everybody that comes by. People come by with dogs, people come by in cars, and when they're going too fast, I do this, because it has become a cut-through. People come down North or Mansion to escape 28, any traffic that's back up. I beg you to deny this application. I mean, really seriously, this is a quaint, I say quaint, and that's a, maybe not the best word, but it's an old street in West Harwich. It's narrow. And when, to piggyback on what Mary was saying about ambulance, or when an ambulance comes, because we know we've had them, the ambulance comes, but the fire truck comes with it. And so you've got to have room to turn around. To be honest, we've been there for almost 60 years. I never even knew Cork Lane was Cork Lane. It looks like this little gravel road that goes into where we used to bring the kids to bring an apple or a carrot for the horses that were there. I cannot picture 6 parking spaces, 6 units, 2 parking spaces per unit, and then 4 additional. and you're going to get a fire truck and an ambulance in there, God forbid that it would be more than one fire truck. It's just not possible. I just ask you to really, really, you see all the people that are sitting here? These are all people that I know. These are people that care. And so I ask you to really seriously think about this. It's not good for the neighborhood. It doesn't fit with the neighborhood. It's a development. Smith Street is not a street for development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Russell.
Hi, everybody. Planning Committee. Hi, I'm Terry Russell, married to the woman that just walked by me. If I could ask, you had a picture 5 minutes ago of the frontage of the 6 viewing townhouses. Any chance of throwing that up?
Matt? Do you mind putting the presentation back up? I'm sorry, for
The elevations,
for the other project.
64 Smith elevation. Here we go. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you. I'll be brief, which is almost impossible after following my wife. Totally agree with the first woman who spoke. To add 2 or 3 points, what are we talking about? Take one look at that. That view will dramatically change the entire neighborhood. I have, with Amory, lived in our home for almost 60 years, walking Smith Street year after year. 2 things strike me. All those years, change in style and substance. What changes have we had? I was very fortunate for 14 years to serve on the Monomoy School Committee. Sat in on the building committee of the present Monomoy Regional High School. Clearly, I was so proud of that. That was good change. Closer to home, 300 yards from where we live, a contractor got the idea of turning from a hopeless look to filled with hope, the old schoolhouse. Dramatic change, solid, good change. He hopefully now is going to launch a plan into resurrecting the Baptist church and turning his view onto the parsonage and turning that corner into a new and fresh view of West Harwich Center. Good change. This view here to me is bad change. For what purpose? You can drive around all of Harwich and not too soon see many of these. Someone commented about Westford or Braintree. That's a suburb of Boston. And unfortunately, maybe the bylaw has to be changed because really, if this is what we're going to hear with the choir, yes, this is what we'll see more of in Harwich. The attorney representing it, tough task, but you're young. He made a comment that struck me when he alluded to the project rising up, but the home in front on Smith Street would be able to block the view. I couldn't have said it better. For someone supporting the project, but you're right. This view would need to be blocked. So, if this is the best attempt we had at voting approval for this project, then not only West Harwich, but the whole town is in trouble. Thanks for your moments of talk.
Wow, it's hard to follow a legend. I'm Ginny Doyle, and I have lived for 40 years on 48 North Road on the corner of Smith Street. Good evening to all of you, and thank you for what you do. Your participation on this board is a gift of your time to all of the citizens of Harwich. As your minutes of the last several months have shown, Harwich is at a crossroads. We can either continue to develop Route 28 corridor and its surroundings, or we can strive to emulate 6A. Your mission as planning board members should be to listen to the people of this beautiful town. They come before you having worked diligently to raise awareness by writing letters, hiring their own consultants, and showing up to voice their concerns. When a developer and its clients present plans, their objective is to make money. More often than not, they do not live on the Cape, nor do their clients. They arrive with consultants, engineers, lawyers. They cross all the T's and dot all the I's. In short, they meet the criteria. What then, you say? I suggest that you say, this is a runaway train. It is time to value our heritage. It is time to preserve and protect the charm and the history of this town. In an area zoned for single-family, detached dwellings, it does not translate into zoning for a group of townhouses. I recently met with John Carey. He was working inside the West Harwich Baptist Church, and he invited me in for a tour. He is a role model for protecting our legacy, a legacy that we and you can pass on to our children and grandchildren. Before I left, I said, I cannot thank you enough for what you are doing. His reply was one that should move us all. He said, it is an honor. Ladies and gentlemen, Harwich is at a tipping point. Let us all hold it upright and protect our past and the grace and charm that is the Cape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Doyle.
I thank you all for showing up tonight. We all did. I'm glad you guys did too. Paul Norton, 68 Smith Street. I'm right next door to this thing. And I got to call it a thing because it does not part of the neighborhood now. I agree with everything that's been said so far here. And again, it's tough to follow some of these other people because they had prepared statements. But I got to tell you one thing. I'm being a little selfish here now, but I'm going to lose all my sunshine. That's a fact. I'm to the east side of this thing, and I got to call it a thing, Council. I'm sorry. By the way, your pictures are a little deceptive. You showed the back view, 2 floors. Front view, 3 floors. Keep an eye on that stuff. Anyways, it's going to be 39-point-something feet tall. Is that before or after fill comes in? You're going to have to fill it and put some stuff under there or whatever. Now, my front door is 59 feet from the foundation. That puts me walking out my front door and looking up at a 36-degree angle to see the sky. That's what I'm looking at. And I guess it's kind of selfish, but yeah, I kind of like the sunshine. We moved to the Cape 8 years ago. I don't have any of the longevity that these other folks do have. When I retired, 30 years in law enforcement, 3 years in the military. And we're looking for a quiet place, private place. We found it. And you're going to take that away from me? Please don't turn this place into Dorchester. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Norton.
Constance Betters, 69 Smith Street, right across the street from Cork Lane, and my dear neighbors. We've been there for 54 years, and I'm probably going to repeat a lot of the things that I've said, but I'm concerned with the protection of Herring River in my neighborhood. One of the criteria for the proposed building is the site an appropriate location for a proposed 6-unit townhouse? This project will see 12 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and at least 12 cars built in a wetlands area that is part of a delicate, already compromised Herring River ecosystem. We hear continually how nitrogen is a detriment to the environment and our groundwater, which then requires enhanced septic systems and sewering. Excuse me. How does adding 12 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and 12-plus cars keep, as I have already said, our already compromised Herring River from being further compromised? I cannot possibly comprehend how this project could even be considered for this location. It directly abuts the Herring River Marsh, which floods regularly in this area when we have super high tides and wind, not to mention storms. Another provision that is to be considered by the board is there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. Smith Street is an old neighborhood that has very narrow roads, and because it is a quiet neighborhood, we see many pedestrians taking walks to Herring River, walking dogs, walking baby carriages, lots of pedestrians every single day. Every day, there are dozens of people who walk on our street. Another provision to be considered, the project will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Most all the homes on Smith Street are single-family homes of various designs that blend in. This project is totally out of character. Smith Street is an established, quiet neighborhood that dates back to the 1700s. Our neighbors live quiet lives, going to work, going to school, retired. To conclude, the owners and developments of 64 Smith Street do not live on Smith Street and most likely do not live in the town of Harwich, much like Cape Cod. So why should they be allowed to change the nature and character of our neighborhood? Why shouldn't our voices and our right of quiet enjoyment as residents of our neighborhood be as or more important than the owner and the developer? After all, we live here and we love our neighborhood because it is quiet, and this just that's not Smith Street. My great-grandfather's house is down the street from me. He built it in 1865, right after he came back from the Civil War. We have the house on the corner of Smith and Mansion Street that was built in the 1700s. We have Dave Needham's house, that's an old house, and the Russells. I mean, we have a lot of history in our neighborhood. And again, I echo your words about John Kerry and the work that he's doing in West Harwich, that he truly loves the nature and character of West Harwich and wants to preserve it. And we who live on Smith Street want to preserve our neighborhood and our quiet enjoyment of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fetters.
Good evening, members of the Planning Board. My name is Mary Albus. I'm a year-round resident of Smith Street in West Harwich. I'm here respectfully to oppose granting special permits for the proposed townhouse development at 64 Smith Street. I believe this project is not in the public interest and that the multifamily use bylaw was never intended to permit development of this scale and intensity in such a sensitive environmental area. The proposed nearly 40-foot tall structure is grossly out of scale and character with the surrounding homes. West Harwich is defined by its historic, small-scale residential fabric, which gives our village its charm, identity, and appeal as both a community and a tourist destination. A large, modern, multi-unit complex would irreversibly alter that character, undermining the very qualities that make Harwich a desirable place to live and to visit. But the character of our neighborhood, really every neighborhood, is defined by more than just our houses. It's also defined by our caring, community-minded residents, all the people you see here tonight, our walkable, narrow streets, and our natural surroundings, the extensive woods, marsh, and wetlands, with a meandering 3-mile-long tidal river running through it. It is one of the most ecologically significant areas in the town of Harwich. Consider how incredibly unique our neighborhood is. Old Cape Cod homes as Connie said, some dating back to the 1700s, nestled amidst 9,500 acres of the Herring River watershed and the Bell's Neck Conservation Area. Very few neighborhoods like ours, if any, still exist on Cape Cod today. The 64 Smith Street property is smack in the middle of this, standing right at the edge of this fragile wetland system. I have some visuals that I hope you'll allow me to use. Thank you. I have an easel that I'd like to
Great.
face the planning board, and my assistant, my husband, has copies for the whole planning board as well as the attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppus.
So this is, I know Ms. Flynn projected a Google map.
Could you speak into a microphone?
Yeah, sure. Oh, sure. Can I hold it? I have to stand, but okay. So what you can see here is, I'm going to hold it because
Yeah, because it will get recorded better.
it will.
Minutes and everything, yeah. Appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you.
So what you see here is an aerial view of Smith Street. And I can point out to you, this is 64 Smith Street here, okay? This is the current dwelling, 64 Smith Street, the small house. Right now, a young couple with a baby on the way are renting this house from attorney Brensley. Back here, you can see all the vegetation. You can see part of the barn, some of the stables. You can only see a few of the structures, the 6 structures that are going to have to be demolished to accommodate this building. The one thing I really want to point out to you is the proximity to the Herring River. So you can see over here to the west, this is the Grenier's garage. You actually can't see the Grenier's house here. To the east, Mr. Norton, Paul Norton, this is their garage, and then this is their house. So you can see what Paul was referring to is that I believe the townhouse is going to go right in this general area. So when Paul said he's looking up, they're looking up into the back of it, he's right. What I really want to show you is you can get a sense of our neighborhood here. Small houses, 1 and 2 stories. This is our house over here, 1,200 square feet. The house across the street, 800 square feet. Small, one level, or at the most 2 levels. But really significant here is, do you see here, there's a stand of trees, and then in the middle, there's a gap. Those are dead trees, okay? Those trees within the last few years have died because of the rising tides. So the marsh is actually getting closer to the 64 Smith Street property, okay? Paul can tell you it's wet back there. So this is where it's going to go, but these trees here, and they're all along here too, those are dead trees because of the marsh encroaching on it, okay? So I just wanted to call your attention to that. Also here, this is North Road here. You can see, do you see that line there? That's a tributary that goes from the Herring River into the marsh. So everyone knows that this, at the end of Smith and North, it's a real problem. The town's going to have to address it because people can't get to their houses, 2 feet of water in storms. This is what the town has to deal with, this tributary, and what they want to do is put a culvert so that the river goes from the river and then into the marsh, okay? So this is all marshland here, and you can really get a sense of how close this property is to the marsh and what they want to build at the back of the property, which, with all due respect, that if you said earlier in this hearing that the Mento Corporation had familiarity with the area. With all due respect, I don't think you do, because if you did, you would realize that by placing this structure in the back of the property, you're actually putting it closer to the marsh, which we're all worried about character, but we're really also worried about the Herring River and the marsh, okay? So you're placing it in like closer to the danger zone here. That's a huge thing, okay? I also have another view. For those who haven't seen it. This is a three-dimensional rendering of what the townhouse will look like at the 64 Smith Street property. It was professionally done. The professional took the site plans from the application, rendered this 3D image. It's to scale, okay? And you can see the only thing that we didn't add because the plan came late were the planting plants, okay, which are 8 little saplings that are going to take forever to grow. But as you can see, like, look at the difference here, right? 100-year-old oaks now, okay? And I got to tell you, in the year and a half since Brensley and Hung bought this property has rewilded itself. It's amazing. It doesn't take Mother Nature too long. Okay? It's a wildlife corridor. I won't even get into the animals that we see on this property, okay? But you're going to have to chop down, remove 100-year-old oaks and a beautiful stand of white pines that had taken decades to grow, and you're going to replace it with some saplings or whatever the planting plan is, okay? Oaks are Mother Nature's sponges. Hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water, one oak tree will absorb in a storm, okay? So I think that is very significant. I think when you asked the attorney to render some kind of indication of what this would look like on the property, I think this is it. I mean, we'll see what they come back with. But this is, as you can see, it's a huge difference. An expansive lawn, they can't plant anything there. Those are the two septics. That's the septic for 64 Smith, and then the septic for the townhouse is here. So I'm hoping that it's not going to be green grass, but it's pretty significant, the before and after. So I wanted to print those photos so that you could see them up close. I have a couple of more comments I'd like to make. Thank you for your patience. So from the Bell's Neck footbridge, which we all know, the only visible sign of human habitation is the West Harwich Baptist Church steeple, a silent sentinel that has stood for centuries watching over our village. Now imagine that timeless view replaced by the addition of a towering modern townhouse complex raised up 6 feet on trucked-in fill. Such a structure would disrupt the integrity and historic sense of place that define West Harwich. Finally, I'm sure I don't even have to mention to you that a development of this magnitude in such close proximity to natural resources that are sensitive poses serious risks to water quality, stormwater management, and wildlife habitat. Once lost, these natural protections cannot be easily restored. The Herring River watershed has already required costly restoration efforts, including the recently completed $1.9 million ecological project at Hinckley's Pond and Herring River headwaters. It would be both irresponsible and short-sighted to jeopardize those efforts with dense new development in such close proximity. I respectfully urge you, the board, to deny these special permits. Approving this project would not only be a detriment to our neighborhood and the environment, it would also set a dangerous precedent, opening the floodgates to large-scale construction in other environmentally and culturally sensitive areas of Harwich and across Cape Cod. Thank you for your time. Sincere thank you to your service to the town of Harwich and your careful consideration of this matter.
Thank you, Mrs. Albert. Anybody else care to address the board this evening?
I'm David Grenier. I live at 62 Smith Street. I came home one day to flags going down the side of my property. I invite anybody out here to come in and look at the property. a lot of it's all been said already, but I'll cap a couple of things. The floodwater comes off of Smith Street. The drain in front of 64 does not captivate it. It goes down Smith Street through Cork Lane and into the Herring River watershed. One thing that hasn't been put up here too much is the amount of fill that is going to be required to bring this property up to put that in. The amount of fill to put in the septic system, that's going to go from basically about 4.5 feet to 9.3. Can I get the barn, the aerial view put back up there? Okay, no, not that one, that one. Okay, you see the barn at the back of the building. I know because I had a daughter that had a horse there. To the right of the barn, in that corner, is less than 4 feet. It's a natural resource recharge area. It's low. And that low area goes from to the right of the barn all the way south to behind the shed row. It ponds in there. What they're proposing is filling all of that to 6 feet, to 5 feet of the property line, and putting it all on the Nortons. Every tree is not on the plans. That's another one I can't understand. But let's go there. The amount of fill to put this in is going to be unbelievable. I challenge them to come up with how much. So you went through a whole bunch of different things, and let me just get this one out. The regulations. Okay. Somebody said, in your own regulations, in order to have parking, you can't count the one in the garage. You got to back out into the roadway. I only count 6 spots. I'm going to go again. Dead ends, got to have a circular. You get one fire truck down there and an ambulance, they're backing up. Yeah, okay. In your rules, all utilities shall be underground. Drainage, that's all said and done. Stormwater runoff, yeah, okay. Runoff from the parking lot. Utilities location. Somewhere in there, that packet shows the utility location. Water main's on the west side. Your rules, not mine. Water mains, south and east. Gas main, north and west. Cable utilities, north and west. Is the deck part of the setback from the Norton's property? That's another one. The other thing in some of the pictures that they gave you, if you look at the floor plan, there's one window in the bedrooms upstairs, and in your nice block house you got, it's 2 windows over 2 windows. How many other inconsistencies are there? Not the place for it, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grenier.
My name's Angelo Kiriakides. I live at 78 Bank Street. I'm not part of this neighborhood. I have friends in this neighborhood. I've walked this neighborhood. It's a lovely, old Cape Cod neighborhood. The scale of the existing neighborhood is Cape Cod to a T. This project that's being developed and proposed here does not fit. It is completely derogatory to the neighborhood. It doesn't complement it. And I think the developer knows there's a problem with the groundwater and the floodplain area because they put all their habitable spaces 10 feet above the ground, above their implied load as well. So that's saying quite a bit in the design of it. I just don't think it fits in the community. I think Harwich has this throughout its town, but this is a classic example of what's coming if we let this thing go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kiriakis.
I'm Robert Albus, 77 Smith Street. I had a lot to say, but most of it's been said, and you've all been very patient. Thank you for letting me speak. Let me just say that I agree with everything that my neighbors and my boss said before. But one thing I wanted to bring up, and this is a bigger issue, is I think it's very ironic that West Harwich is getting hit with all this development. The part of town that I think is slated last or maybe second last for the sewers. I don't understand that. I've been in the neighborhood since the late 90s, and I've seen with my own eyes the degradation of the Herring River. It never used to have algae in it, and now it does. So my feeling is nothing like this should be built in West Harwich until the sewers are in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albus.
Hi, I'll be very quick. My name's Andrea Silbert. I currently live at 61 North Road. I've been in the neighborhood for 25 years. I lived at 55 Smith. My 3 children used to go and feed carrots to the horses. You've heard that one. I'm impacted, as are some of my neighbors here, by not being able to get out during the storms, during the high tides. It's a dead end at the footbridge, so we can't get out in those 2 feet of brackish water. And one thing that's really important to know is that it's not that it floods, the river breaches. The river breaks through. You've probably seen some photos. I've shared them with the media. It's a fast-moving river that's going through. And part of the issue is that the fellow that was developing the shack put in some retention walls and funneled the water. The water then goes out to the marsh in the back that connects with 64. We need that area to help us with this breach. We still don't have a solution. I was trapped in the last storm, and my 88-year-old mother is in Chatham, and I couldn't get out, and I called the town, and they said to call an ambulance or 911 to get out. I mean, we joke in the neighborhood that we need to have kayaks to get out. So I just want to say I am a vice chair of the board of the Harwich Conservation Trust. I'm a very serious about the land, but you know what I just joined the board of? The housing assistance. Because I care so much about my neighbors, about my kids coming home and saying their friends' parents couldn't live on the Cape anymore. So I care both about the environment and about housing. But if we're going to put housing in, we need housing for people who live here year-round. We don't need any more condos for people who are going to come seasonally, whether they Airbnb it or not. We have a workforce, and so we have to focus on year-round rental housing, and this property is the worst possible property from an environmental standpoint. Literally, you've got to figure out a way that we can get to our houses during these storm breaches, which are happening more and more. I've been here 25 years, like Bob and Mary. We've seen the water rise, particularly as you go out to the footbridge. So thank you for that. Very pro-housing. Would love to see more housing. Love John Kerry. Everybody's been saying that. We need to be able to have our kids live here, our workforce live here. But this is not about one unit that might be deed restricted. Come on. We can do better than that. So I want to also thank you for your service. This has been a long meeting. We are all friends, and we all look out for each other. And we appreciate your listening to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for addressing the board. Is there anybody else this evening that would like to address the board? Please step right up.
Hi, I'm Karen Horn, 34 Smith Street. My notes are scribbled because I didn't plan to speak. I just will speak to what she just said about needing kayaks. She's right, because I forgot how many years ago the storm was, but she needed to get home, and the only way she could get home was for me to run back down the street to my basement, which had water, to get my rain boots so she could put them on to walk through 2 feet of water to get home. Yes. So it really is a problem. It is an issue, and this is not going to help it. I guess I just want to say a couple of things. I'm not going to repeat anything. We've said enough, but this isn't about short or long-term rentals. I don't believe this is about who's housing, who can afford it. I think what this really is about is being good stewards of the land that we have been trusted with, particularly the people on Smith, North, Mansion, that whole neighborhood. We take it very seriously. We take care of our properties in a way that honors this river. And right now, we've got water in our backyard. Our property is a long, narrow acre that does not go as far back as this property. And I have water in my yard right now. Can't go to the back of my property. This is a real problem. So I think it's about stewardship. And it's not about our neighborhood, really. It's about our town. Because if we allow this in our neighborhood, it's going to happen elsewhere in the town. I think our town really needs to think about some of these issues before we let this go on. So, no, it won't fit. It doesn't belong there. I don't think we should be talking about the lighting, the planting, or anything like that. So I just want to end with a question for each of you. I don't know the answer, but if you haven't already walked down Smith Street recently, please do that. You need to understand what this neighborhood is and what is on the end of each of our roads, what's behind our properties. It's important that you walk down Smith Street. So if you haven't, please do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Horn. Is there anybody else this evening that would like to address the board? Well, I thank you all for your participation this evening. I think we have a lot to think about. I think we have some material that's unfinished business that we'll probably need to continue this meeting. So I would urge you all to stay tuned. We've got another installment. So was there any comments from Ms. Flynn?
If we'd like to continue the public hearing to December 16th in the Griffin Room?
That sounds like a splendid idea. Is that satisfactory to the applicant?
Yes.
December 16th? Yeah, Harry.
I'd like to put a motion in front of the board and ask the chairman to bring it to a vote. I would like to propose that this board exercise our rights as defined in Town Code 325-51, Section A, subparagraph 2. The permit granting authority may require the applicant to submit professionally prepared documentation of the environmental, traffic, or other impacts, et cetera, and we ask specifically for an environmental impact report as a condition of continuing the hearing, and also traffic. It was suggested by someone that traffic was an unknown, that we also get a traffic report. I think this board would do better work with more information, and I think it would be helpful for everyone to have answers to those questions. So I'd ask you to bring it to a vote.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second. I'll second it, but for questions, if we could just have discussion.
Please, we have a motion and a second. Let's have discussion.
So first question is, if that condition goes in place, is December 18th a reasonable, 16th a reasonable timeframe for you to be able to put that together, considering the holidays and Thanksgiving and everything coming up?
Right. In speaking with the engineers from Merrill, who will be here at the next hearing, when Christine and I had initially talked about December 23rd, they had said that might not be enough time for them, even before the environmental report or traffic report. So, I have to discuss with them. If it is December 16th and I just come and continue that to the next month in case they don't have enough time, I just don't have them with me here
So I
tonight,
guess my
so.
question would then be, would it make more sense for us to continue this to a January date, which, rather than
13th.
rushing it, would give you time to actually provide us with the reasonable environmental study that we can look at, and not bother everyone to come out again in
Sure.
December and then again in January?
Yeah, that
Just food for thought for the board as well.
I believe our next scheduled meeting in January is the 13th. Is that the first one of the month?
Let me check.
Yep.
I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
since we are talking about the environmental statement, do they have a meeting for the conservation?
So we actually wanted to go through conservation first, but we were referred to you before we tackled conservation.
Okay, so that makes this even more appropriate then. Thank you.
Right. Please.
So January 13th is the first, our first planning board meeting of the new year. And if I could add to Harry's request, if we could also get architectural renderings from the east, west, and north and south viewpoints, in addition to having a balloon put up onto the property so that we can have, so if we do a site visit,
Yep.
we can
Great
have
idea.
that in preparation of a site visit.
So we have a motion. Do we have any further discussion on the motion? No? I suggest we take a vote, if that's okay. All in favor of the motion?
Can I just clarify the motion? Is the motion just to have the architectural renderings? We didn't put a date next to the motion or anything yet. Are you just going to move to
Well, I think-
continue with that provision?
I thought we were about to have a motion to continue.
We are.
So I wanted to get this in before, because that would pretty much.
So my question is just, are you making that all a part of one big continuous motion?
I could, I mean,
Or two.
I think it's appropriate.
okay.
So we're talking IER, traffic, and elevations
Architectural
renderings. So that's, would
Three.
you amend that? So we're going to have to second that amended motion.
Yeah, that, I'll
So amended. Do we have a second on the amendment?
Second.
All in favor? of the-
As a condition to continue the hearing until January 13th, no earlier than 6:30 PM?
You're better at
Oh,
this.
well, we could, we can wrap it all up.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, let's wrap it all
It's
up.
the one motion.
All right.
That works.
So a second amendment involves an IER, traffic, elevations, and a continuation till January 13th, no later than 6:30 PM.
No earlier.
No earlier. Why do I always do that? That is the motion. We need a second on the seconded amendment. All in favor of the amendment?
We need to second
The
first.
seconding,
We need
yeah.
to second first.
Oh, you need a second? Okay.
Yes.
I second.
Okay, so we have the second on the second correction. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Ms. Flynn. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. We appreciate feedback. This is excellent, and this is how town's supposed to work. Thank you all.
See you in January.
See you January 13th. Pardon?
Are we now December 9th?
So, yes, December 9th is our...
Let's put the calendar before we leave.
May I ask everybody, by the way, to please continue your conversation outside? We still have more business this evening. Sorry.
Two things.
January 16th. 13th. No. I'm sorry, can you all... Hey, quiet! Can I ask everybody, we still have business to conduct. I would urge you to please, believe it or not, there's some other things on our agenda. Please continue your conversations out in the hall. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Herndon. Appreciate your appearance here tonight.
We can do it if you want it that way.
You just have to wait the
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Okay.
I don't think we have anything more than updates, and I think the condition of what our...
The agenda at some place, the second.
I'm going to get our calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, the DRI referral, that's going to be, I'm curious about that.
All these meetings, which one? This is our special meeting. Where's the next one? Here, out of sequence,
Well,
right?
tell what that bothers me.
I just want to come up with something. Engaged.
We were only like halfway there.
We're gonna be at the.
Well, we had 75 tonight.
75, wow, that's pretty good for this room.
Can I ask one other question for the next meeting? Can we have an assessor's map?
Okay.
Copy as well, that will just show us the parcels and the numbers.
Sure.
That'd be awesome.
For 64
one?
Smith Street, or, okay.
Yeah. For like, just the assessor's map
Okay.
and map with that plot.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Mary.
So I think we're just down to, I have a question, the DRI, and I think we need to catch up on some of our minutes.
Yes, for November 18th, I've been putting together, we have at least 10 sets of meeting minutes that we need to do.
Right.
And so I'll split it up for half of it for November 18th, and then half of it for our next meeting to go through as an agenda item. And
Yeah, just give us time to read them
Right.
since it's been so long.
absolutely,
So we'll get 5 sets on the 18th for clarification?
yes.
And then we can go to the calendar.
And the next one's the 9th then, December 9th.
And December 9th, right?
So we have November 18th. We have an A and R, and we have meeting minutes, and
Nothing yet, so. it's
Nothing
too-
yet.
But that's okay, because today's the 6th, so you should be all right, right?
Yes.
So Christine, just as a point, I'm not available on the 18th,
Okay.
just for,
We'll need 4 for the A and R.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we do December 9th, and that's at the 2:04, is that correct?
Yes. I haven't, I just got confirmation from everyone. I will follow up with the applicant who will ask, who may ask for a continuance to December 9th.
Oh, I thought that.
Because originally, we had scheduled 6:06 for November 18th at the end of the last meeting.
Right.
So they had asked that for a continuance to December.
Okay.
So December 9th is,
Tuesdays, and that will be at 6:30, and that will, I've talked with the 204, so I think it's going to be upstairs in their library.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
It's where we had that breakout meeting,
Yep,
wasn't it?
yep, I've been there.
Yes.
It'd be, right.
It's harder to find, but it's in the main building, the library of 204.
204.
Okay.
Why is it there?
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
where we had this, we've met with town council?
That's correct. That's the
That's
one.
kind of behind the
No, it's
stage.
going
No,
to,
no,
no,
no.
it's upstairs.
Oh, it's
Upstairs.
upstairs, okay, oh, that's right,
There's a
that's
big
fine.
old library in the
Oh, the
building.
library's a huge room.
Yeah, it is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
gallery. It usually doesn't have chairs, but whatever. Okay, that's where we are at the library on December 9th, correct?
and
Yes.
that's accessible.
And then we just did January 13th, correct?
Yes.
For
So we
this.
basically have 3.5 weeks, or 4 weeks.
I would like to, under new business, if that's correct, a site visit,
I think that would be a splendid idea.
okay?
For,
For 64, yeah.
do we wait until we have the renderings and such from them, or do we?
We've done, like, we did a site visit for Wequassett without much stuff, so we've done it before.
I think the topography is the issue right now, like the low-hanging fruit, you know, right?
And
I
we
think
are.
I can follow up with the applicant to schedule a site visit so that they can walk us through the property.
Okay.
What do they call that building? Cultural, it's a cultural center? Or
Yeah.
Cultural Arts Municipal Building.
Thank you.
We keep trying to make it the 204, but nobody's catching on.
Yeah. Are there any other updates of significance here?
Yes, I have
okay.
several.
Okay.
So for scheduling, and Ann, thank you for pointing that out. We have another multifamily that was submitted for 33 Old Colony. I will be reviewing the
right back here?
application. Correct. I'll be reviewing the application and scheduling a meeting for that as well. I'll know which dates when I have the opportunity to. We may need to have an extra meeting on December 2nd or December 16th. The Cape Cod Commission is doing the Witchmere DRI.
Right.
And that's, I believe it's going to be at the community center.
Do we go to that on December 16th?
We can.
Okay, that's not an official, but that's December 16th is the Witchmere, correct?
For the Cape Cod Commission's DRI process. So that's tentatively December 16th and December 11th.
Would it be the same
Yeah.
presentation repeated?
They're doing at least 2 public hearings. Last year, they were all remote, and I know I attended at least 3, if not 5, of the meetings.
For the Witchmere, yeah.
For the Witchmere redevelopment project. Mary?
Can I just clarify the process, if I may? They are in the middle of their public hearing process. Cape Cod Commission does, I'm assuming it's the same process that happened before. It comes to, it officially gets filed with Planning Board. You refer it to Cape Cod Commission for review.
Yes.
Cape Cod Commission holds their hearings and public hearings, does their consideration, and then they render a decision that it's either appropriate or inappropriate. If they vote no, it doesn't come back to us. If they vote yes, it comes back to us for permitting, correct?
Correct. They can either deny the project, which stops all permitting. They can approve the project as presented or approve the project with conditions. The 2 approvals will come back to all local permitting boards for further review. And my understanding is that whatever conditions the Cape Cod Commission stipulates, the town can only add to those restrictions. They cannot change
take
or
anything
alter
away. Yep.
those conditions.
Thank you.
So is there an additional meeting? We're November 18th, December 9th. I heard you say December 2nd?
I was thinking December 2nd. Duncan can't go, won't be able to attend. When I threw out the 3 Tuesdays, most members could attend, but and also.
What would we be doing on December 2nd?
So for December 2nd, let's see,
Is that Cape
I
Cod
can-
Commission?
No,
No.
that's the 11th or the 16th is the Cape Cod Commission for Witchmere somewhere.
So for December 2nd, I could do, I can post a public hearing for the 33 Old Colony multifamily project, as well as 574 Route 28. They would like to modify a condition in terms, a condition that required hours of operation to close one of the stores at 4 p.m. They would like to modify that condition. I have no ability to do any administrative change, and because it was a condition as part of the special permit,
This is
I
downtown
need to
Harwich
post.
Court?
Yes, it's the building
it's
that's
Dennis
under.
Miller's building,
Correct.
yep,
That's
okay.
associated with the coffee shop, right?
It was about parking.
Yes.
Is that the one that was going to have the nail salon and
No.
some other thing?
I don't
On the
think
other
so.
side,
No.
further
That's Harwich
west.
Center.
So they would like to change the hours of operation, and I can also confirm, usually stores' hours of operation are regulated through the I get this wrong.
Common victual license.
Thank you, through the select board.
What was the
And
street address?
I think it's 570.
It had to do with parking.
It was parking.
Yeah, so it was because they were short on parking, and it was part of the parking waiver, I think.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
So they want
Yeah,
to come back.
It would be a requirement to amend the site plan special permit.
Okay,
So that's a
yes.
whole meeting unto itself?
I'd need to post a public hearing, I would assume.
And that's December 2nd?
That's what I was aiming to move that forward.
Okay, and the reason to kind of line these all up is the time frame, right? They have, by the time they apply, and then,
We have 65 days. We can ask for extensions to evaluate applications, but as soon as the town clerk stamps a project.
No, I hear you.
The town has 65 days to post the first public
one,
hearing.
two,
The only
three,
comment is
or
that
5 meetings.
she and I both have extra CPC meetings in December, correct? And I don't recall what dates they were, so.
And that's what I had said, I had the capital outlay meetings too. I think Tuesday's okay. I could do a December 2nd so far.
Are we going to need a supermajority on anything that evening? Because
If it's a special permit, it
We
needs
are
to
going to need
be,
a supermajority.
I'm sorry?
We will.
Yes.
for the second
Any
item,
special permits, we need 5 members, 5 voting members, and they have to vote in approval. All 5 need to be approved as a supermajority of this board.
For that December 2nd meeting, for the parking change, correct? And do the members have to have heard the original?
That's a
Case?
good question. I don't know.
Because
What was
we-
your question? I'm sorry, I didn't
What
hear you.
would the people voting for the hours or whatever, the amendment to that special permit, would they have, the members have to have heard the original case?
No, because it's a new application with an
It's a
amendment.
whole new application?
It's an amendment to
Correct.
the site
Yep.
plan special
Okay.
permit.
Okay, fine.
Actually, because I was thinking some of the members are no longer here.
Right, that would be
Yeah.
hard, however long ago it was. Okay, so that gives us,
So is December 2nd, so you, Mary and Emily have CPC meetings, 1, 2, 3.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether
you
it's
on
the second or
Tuesdays?
not. I'm just thinking.
I think it's only the 11th.
Is
that
that
I
the 6th
see.
and the 11th?
I'm not seeing that. I didn't put it
Okay.
in. I don't know if we put them on.
I didn't put them in my calendar, so.
I usually do, but maybe I missed it.
just, we'll put the caveat, I'll find out on that big meeting when it is.
Well, perhaps we can resolve this by email over the next week.
Yes, I'll do an extended schedule of all of the pending projects and all of the projects that are ready to be scheduled for public hearing, and
So the
keep you
33 Old
updated.
Colony, do you think that's going to be a complicated?
I think it's been, the application is very thorough, very complete, and my understanding is that the applicant has tried to reach out to as many neighbors as possible. We have received some phone calls regarding that proposal, but it's for 3 units, so
Right.
it's not a significant increase in density, and they are working within the, they're adding on to the existing house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound.
All right.
I'll check my work commitments tomorrow and try and email you
Okay.
and let you know.
Thank you. And I do think going forward for any of these projects, we should, and I know it's more work for your time, to do site visits with applicants. I do think having the opportunity to actually see the site and the lay of the land makes a big difference and is important in terms of the body's decision-making.
Agreed.
Agreed.
The other thing is, that I mentioned before too, is with regard to the hearing this evening, I neglected to deal with that issue of the letters. That there was a special request in a couple letters, I think,
Couple letters.
that wanted to be read, and then, so I didn't,
So-
we need to, can we deal with this in the continued meeting? Is that okay?
course.
Okay.
Yes.
You're still in public hearings.
Right.
Not a problem.
So it's just continued, but because there were a number of notes, so it's like, there were, I think, 4 to 6 that asked to be read.
There were at least 4 that I know that asked to be read into the record, and so I think that might also be another policy issue for the board to discuss in terms of protocol.
Right.
Because some of the letters can be fairly lengthy, and I'm not saying one way or the other, but just if we do it for one,
Right.
we should have a set policy
Be
of what the
consistent.
protocol is to be consistent.
We have to, yeah, it can't be, okay.
I think in the past, Mary's summarized like bullet points, like single issue letters where we can kind of collectively go through a half a dozen, just summarize, what is being stated and move on. But if you've got a multi-paragraph, multi-page, there's nuance to it, I think it merits consideration, harder to reduce. So,
Are we going to, at some point, agendize the policy, a discussion on policies and procedures for the board?
I think that would be wise to do for the board, just so that we're all familiar for policies and procedures, and also it's very helpful for me to then provide some guidance to the board, but also when I interface with applicants and members of the public, it's also important for me to be able to communicate those policies and expectations back.
Can I just request, I know it's important, and I agree that it's important, but can we push it off till January, at least?
If we're dealing with 10 months of not having minutes, right, that shows that we're
Exactly.
well behind
right.
Yeah, yeah.
in terms of
Better to
workload.
clear up that stuff and then
Yeah.
put any energy into something new.
Well, also,
So the
rules and
protocols-
regulations, we have to do rule setting. We have to have public hearings, and we have to go
About
through all
rule
of the
setting.
administrative procedures
Yeah.
if we're actually talking about setting up revisions to subdivision rules and regulations or revisions to planning board regulations. It's not just us voting at a meeting and deciding that this is what we're going to do, so.
In terms of taking materials and things like that,
If
we make it a rule,
If whatever we're doing rises to the level of a rule or a regulation, then we have to go through the whole rule-setting procedures.
Sure.
But we can discuss it here and
Absolutely.
draft
No,
what we want to have approved and then get it approved.
That's all part of the rule-setting procedures. You have public hearings, you have a draft, you take comments, you have a public comment period, you do all of those.
it's a big bite of work.
It's different than just us just saying at a meeting, yeah, we think this is a good idea, and we're gonna decide.
Act this way, yeah, okay. Throw that into January.
Right.
Or February.
All right. Anything else?
One
Emily's-
quick question.
Emily, sorry, yes.
Walking Emily over here, I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry.
just on site visits, I'm just thinking that it's so dark now. Like, what time are those going to happen? What flexibility do you have? I'd love to be able to attend. Sometimes I'm not as flexible just because of work commitments.
Right.
Like,
Can we do
so
it Saturday?
getting
Yeah.
ahead of it and figuring out how we go before it gets dark
Yeah.
at 4 p.m.
Could I make a suggestion that, perhaps Christine can communicate with council with some times, even, weekend times that people could
I was going to ask that.
visit the
yeah.
property?
Sure.
And it's just, as always, it's important that we're not deliberating when we're there. We don't have to post if we're just doing a site visit. As soon as
We
we
do
start.
have to post. Site visits have to be posted.
They don't. If it's not an open meeting law violation, as long as you're not deliberating.
We don't talk to each other, we walk around.
Right. You can double check that with council, but that's my understanding, that if it's a straight site visit, there's an exemption.
Just to clarify your suggestion around weekend, would it be individual visits, so we go on our own, or would it be a
I
set?
think it would be up to council and what they're
'Cause
willing
that
to
would be
allow
so
us to
much
do.
easier for me a lot of times, but.
Another
anyway.
procedural question. Would we be, because I've done this on other committees, would there be anything preventing us from appointing or recruiting a subcommittee of people to do some, bang out some stuff that we're going to bring in to discuss about procedures and policies, and more or less start with something already prepared, rather than have all 5 of us, or 7 of us, 6 of us sit here with, and say, what do you think we should do? Or,
A subcommittee of this committee?
yeah, yeah.
So my only point is the subcommittee has to post and do minutes. No different than the full committee would. Subcommittee has to be typically less than a quorum.
Less than a quorum. So
But
3
it-
people.
But it still has to be posted, it still has to be public, it still has to have an agenda, it still has to have minutes.
Legal,
So that's-
legal notice?
All of
All
the
the
above.
above.
So it's no different than a meeting. It's no different than a meeting of the whole, it's just a subcommittee.
So in all of town government, there aren't any subcommittees of committees or boards or whatever that are doing, heavy lifting for
If it's a
work that will
subcommittee-
be considered by the full board or committee?
If it's a subcommittee, it still needs to be posted. It would be posted like a subcommittee of the
select board does all the time.
rule-setting subcommittee of the planning board is holding a meeting on Tuesday, whatever, Wednesday, whatever date. And you would still have to be a public meeting, subject to posting, subject to open meeting law, rules, and regulations.
But what was discussed in the open meeting training was that if there isn't an open meeting violation if it's less than a quorum.
Wrong. If it's a subcommittee, it is still a committee. If you're doing deliberation, so if you're saying, if you and Ann talk about something, and the two of you talk about something outside of a public hearing, that's not technically an open meeting law violation, but if at some point you or Ann talks to Annie or Duncan and it becomes a serial deliberation, that can still be considered an open meeting law violation. So, but a subcommittee is still a committee, just like the committee of the whole
I
is.
mean, if it's officially formed as a subcommittee.
Yes.
Then that makes sense.
And we
There's a
certainly
difference if
don't
one
want it-
person is charged with doing something, like Duncan could say, hey, Harry, you go draft something yourself,
Right.
then it's not a subcommittee. But
Right.
as soon as it's more than one person, it's a
We could have like a
subcommittee.
worksheet. The one thing we really want to avoid is the open meeting law debacle that the select board's going through, I think now, which is just, and which we had too, remember like 2 years ago. We had to have, what was it, 7 meetings in 5 days prior to,
Oh, the
with,
town,
remember with a prior administrator?
We didn't really have an open meeting law violation. We had an issue that.
Announcements
that
violation.
meetings were failed, the meeting
weren't
postings
posted.
failed.
Oh, yeah, the
So it
posted.
wasn't that we intentionally had a backdoor open meeting law violation.
But we
It was
did all that because of
Our
posting.
meeting posting failed and we had to repeat the public hearings.
That's
Right.
right.
That's what happened.
But that's like getting all tripped up, the less we do with that, the better, right?
So just for clarification, Duncan can assign someone something.
He could assign someone something, yes.
They have to accept, or?
No,
No, they're just
I'm going to
voluntold.
cover our.
You have to go at 8 PM, show up at a site visit, right? Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
All right, are we good for this evening, do you think?
You can
learn
clarify
also-
all of that with council too, just
Yeah.
just in case.
Just in
Because they'll
case.
cover you, I won't.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we hear all this stuff? I mean,
So we hit the Cape Cod Commission. We did receive the letter that they are, which is a development of regional impact. So that was the letter. And I can forward that letter to everyone as well. For the local comprehensive plan, we did conclude our public hearing notice, and we are doing the final edits in consideration. Overall, the comments were very positive for the local comprehensive plan, and I will be working with the local planning committee to follow up with town boards as well as department heads to request letters of support for the LCP in preparation of annual town meeting. After
Target is still
target,
town
yeah.
meeting.
Yep, and after the holidays, the committee would like to do some small sessions just to give remind people what the plan is, what the intentions are,
And our name's all over it to do things, yes.
Yes, and so I think just in terms of annual town meeting, it's good outreach and also to look, to really encourage people for their support to adopt the plan.
And has administration given any guidance on when votes have to happen in order for things to make the articles for town meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
So for article, I have to follow up with town council as well as administration relative to the article, relative to the articles, because it's unclear if the whole plan is put on as an article or an appendix. I would assume as an appendix, and someone would just have one article stating why we would like the town to support the local comprehensive plan. And the planning board, however, still does have to have a public hearing and to approve the plan as well.
We didn't do that?
No, we haven't approved
By
it yet.
Mass General Law, it's the planning board that approves the local comprehensive plan formally. We don't have to go to town meeting to have the plan adopted for the town, but my understanding from the get-go, that was always the intention from day one. So
Yes.
the
Yeah.
committee is very, very much aware of that and wants to adhere to that.
My experience is always that the plan is at a minimum on file with the town clerk's office so that it's up for inspection for those, when it's an article.
Okay, I will follow up with Emily
I
on
would double
that.
check that. And again, it's got to be approved before that, any of that happens anyway, right?
So
Yes.
we're approving it somewhere in January?
I'm not sure. I will find out what the timeframes are. Because even for the warrant article, it might not be bad to do it concurrently, both for annual town meeting as well as for our local approval adoption. And it will be good to say at town meeting, the planning board has adopted the local comprehensive plan. LCP schedule. And so for the open space and recreation plan, I am working with Ty and Bond to finish the final adjustments and additional information that was requested by the Division of Conservation Services, who we will then, we have a conditional approval from the state, and I will resubmit the open space and recreation plan on behalf of the town. I do have to work with administration. So once we send that, hopefully that will be approved by the state, and that will be good for 10 years. And these plans, again, are also vital for local planning and other project grants to make sure that when the town is applying for competitive grants, having these plans approved by state agencies is critical. And so the hazard mitigation plan, last week we received a final draft from the Cape Cod Commission, who we've partnered with. They've been the lead consultant on the hazard mitigation plan, and we are hoping to have a public meeting on November 14th, and to then have a presentation, rather, on the 14th, and possibly the 20th, and to have a 3-week comment period for the public. And then we will submit that to MEMA and FEMA for their review.
We still have a few.
Have we approved the open space and recreation plan?
It didn't require the planning board to approve it. The Conservation Commission.
We've done it in the past, that's why
Oh,
I
okay.
asked, yeah.
It
Well,
wasn't
2016
required.
we did.
The open space and recreation plan didn't require a formal public hearing at the local level. What it did require was letters of endorsement, and this board did vote to support a letter to submit the open space and recreation plan back in June or July, I think.
All right.
As did the Cape Cod Commission, the town administrator at the time, and the Conservation Commission. So we did, and Parks and Recreation, they also submitted a letter of endorsement as well. A lot of moving parts, a lot of planning going on, a lot of good work that the town is doing. So it's been, for me anyway, it's been a great introduction and very helpful as I do my job here to support and assist the planning board. So a lot of good work has been going on. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Christine. We appreciate all you're doing for us here. I don't know, I don't have any further, does anybody else? Why don't we
Move to adjourn.
move, we have a motion,
9:04.
9:04, we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.